Newton's first law of motion says that an object in motion will stay in motion, and an object at rest will stay at rest unless acted on by an unbalanced force. An object will not change its motion unless a force acts on it. An object that is not moving remains at rest until something pushes it or pulls it. An object that is moving remains moving until something pushes it or pulls it. All objects resist having their motions changed. This tendency to resist a change in motion is called inertia. The more mass an object has, the greater its inertia. In the first example, we see that the soccer ball is at rest. The soccer ball will stay there unless an unbalanced force acts on it, which my kick acts as an unbalanced force. The second example, you can see that the egg has inertia because it doesn't want to move, and that's why it falls straight down into the cup of water instead of flying sideways with the bowl. The second law of motion states that the force of an object is equal to its mass times its acceleration. A change in motion occurs only if a net force is exerted on an object. A net force changes the velocity of an object and causes it to accelerate. If an object is acted upon by a net force, the change in velocity will be in the direction of the net force. The acceleration of an object depends on its mass. The more mass an object has, or the more inertia it has, the harder it is to accelerate. More mass means less acceleration if the force is acting on the object is the same. This next example shows a type of force I was able to exert on the tree going about 30 miles an hour and having a mass of about 275. In this next example, we see that the heavier ball has a slower acceleration than the smaller ball, and this is because of their mass, and this is how it relates to Newton's second law. Newton's third law of motion states that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. When one object exerts a force on a second object, the second object exerts an unequal force in the opposite direction of the first object. The force exerted by the first object is the action force. The force exerted by the second object is the reaction force. In this video, we see Newton's cradle demonstrating Newton's third law. The first ball is the action force, and this force travels through and causes the last ball to move. When the ball then returns and makes contact with the other ball, this is the reaction force. The last video shows Newton's third law in action, because the water is falling and hitting the rocks, which causes the water to splash upward. The water falling and hitting the rocks is the action force, and the reaction is the water splashing upward.